Hey guys. All right. Um, I was just trying to get Streamlabs to work so that I could do this where I'm showing my windows here and you could also see the camera, but it didn't work this time. I think I've almost got it, so hopefully next time we'll be able to do that. But for this time, you're actually only going to see my face right here. We're about to, and possibly at the end. Switching over to my screen so you can actually see what we're talking about. I'm going to be talking tonight about the amendments that are proposed for the Florida election. Final date of voting tomorrow. Apparently, a lot of people are voting early. I was talking to some friends and I said something about it. Oh yeah, I'm going to be voting on Tuesday. And said, well, why don't you vote early? I always vote on voting day. I don't vote early. But anyway, already a question. What do you think will happen in the midterms? I honestly think the Republicans are going to take it. Not by a landslide, but I think that they're going to take it just because Democrats have been alienating their voter base way too much. And Republicans are appealing to their voter base. I'm very upset with the Republicans on a couple of issues. But anyway, that's for another stream. Okay, so there are 12 amendments being proposed for the state of Florida this election period. And one of them has actually been removed. I didn't look into all the details about why, but I'm just going to go through them. Some of them are not going to take long at all because it's pretty easy for me, given my principles. And I will be talking about why I'm voting yes or no to each one. And those who know me, those who have seen many of my videos, they'll be able to guess for several of them. Anyway, Amendment 1, increase homestead property tax exemption, grants an additional $25,000 homestead exemption. This one applying to the value of a home between $100,000 and $125,000. Those with homes valued at $125,000 and more will receive the full $25,000 exemption other than school district taxes. And those homes valued between $1 and $125,000 will receive a proportional benefit. A yes vote on Amendment 1 would allow homeowners to deduct an additional $25,000 from the taxable value of the home worth more than $100,000, which is probably most homes in Florida. Most people come here to retire, well, I won't say most people, but a huge percentage of Floridians are here because they're retiring. And when they're retiring, they're going to get more expensive houses because by the time you've worked an entire lifetime, or half a lifetime anyway, you've usually saved up enough money, especially if you're retiring in Florida. So yeah, this is actually going to affect a lot of homes, I would say. Yes, we have poorer neighborhoods. There are a lot of houses that are worth less than that. When we have Gainesville and Tallahassee are both kind of college towns, so a lot of homes are worth less than that. Although in that case, most students are probably just renting, which we're actually going to get into in the next one. This would apply to homestead, meaning house, primary residence. So I own my own house, so it would apply to my house because yes, my house is actually worth more than $100,000. This is an obvious yes for me. Anything, those of you who know me know that I don't care for taxes. I certainly don't think that property should be taxed. That's actually a big deal with me. I don't know that I've discussed that on stream before, but I really, really don't like property taxes. Essentially, what property taxes mean is that the government owns all the land and you're renting it from the government. If you have to pay taxes in order to keep your land, you don't own it. And it happened, there was an older lady in the state of Florida who forgot to pay her taxes one year. She forgot. Probably, I don't know if the bill got lost in the mail or if she just misplaced it or what, but she didn't pay her taxes. So the state repossessed her property without telling her about it, put it up for auction. Someone bought the house and essentially told her, get out. This is my home now. And it was pretty bad. But anyway, so I have a problem with property taxes regardless. So anything that decreases property taxes, I'm for that. Yes. So anyway, one thing I like about this site, by the way, I have two sites here. This one, bereadytovote.org/constitutional amendments. I guess it's just for the state of Florida, I assume. And then Florida 12 amendments. This is by the Miami Herald. I like this one because it actually has links to the amendments if you want to read all of the details and everything. And this one I like because it just it summarizes it and then it tells you who's supporting it and who is opposed to it. Supporters, unknown. I would say anybody who owns a house would support this. Opponents, Florida Association of Counties. Well, of course, they're going to get less property taxes. Florida Educational Association. I don't know why, because it's not affecting school district taxes. So that's interesting. Florida League of Cities. Again, it's going to decrease property taxes, so I'm not surprised. Florida Policy Institute. I'm surprised that they are. I don't know why they would be. League of Women Voters of Florida. Yeah, Just hearing that name makes me think of my last video, if anybody saw it, on Common Core and the fallacy of good intentions. Progress Florida, I don't know who they are, and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Why are they opposed to this? I mean, I don't know. That's interesting. Well, regardless, this is more just interesting for me. If I wasn't sure about the amendment, seeing who supports it and who opposes it might have some bearing. I don't know. I'm not sure that it would. Honestly, it's more interesting than anything else. But yes, absolutely, I support that. Increase the property tax exemption. We pay less taxes. I'm all for that. This one is a little more interesting. This one, limitations on property tax assessments, makes permanent what currently is a temporary cap of 10% on annual property value increases for vacation homes, apartments, commercial property, effectively limiting increase on tax bills. What it is there's currently a temporary cap that says each year the property appraisers, your property tax is based on how much the government thinks your home is worth. It's not how much you can actually sell it for. It's how much does the government say your home and property is worth. And they come around, the property appraisers come around, I think once a year, and look at the house, look at the property, and they write down a number and say, here's how much your home is worth, and that's how much you're paying taxes on. Now, apparently there's a temporary cap right now that says they cannot increase the property value more than 10% above what it was the prior year, at least for these. I think that cap is, I'm not sure actually if that cap is already in existence for homesteads or not. This is for property, this is not for homesteads. So this is for property that, let's say I buy a house, I have my house and I buy another house and I rent it out because there are college students in my area. So it could be a nice income for me. College students don't want to buy a house. They just want to rent something for 4 years and then move on, or 2 years or 8 years, depending on what degree they're going for, whatever. Anyway, so this is one that I can see people aren't going to get as fired up about because most people don't own rental property. So it's not something that affects them. For me, again, this is a matter of principle. I don't approve of taxing property, and I don't care if it's commercial property or residential property. It doesn't matter. If you own the property, you own the property. So yes, anything that's going to limit the taxes, I'm for that. So yes, I'm for Amendment 2. Now, supporters, Florida Association of Realtors, of course. I mean, that's going to it's going to increase business for them, especially people out of state that may want to buy a property in Florida. And we get a lot of that. People who live outside of Florida buying property on the beach so that they can come and just stay, say, in the summer or whatever. And what they do is they turn it into a rental when they're not there. So they only come here for vacation time and then they rent it out the rest of the year, which means they cannot claim homestead exemption on it because it's not their primary residence. It's essentially a vacation home, mentioned here, or a rental property. So yes, realtors will have an easier time selling property if they have a wider buyer base. So yes, Florida Chamber of Commerce supports it. Again, I understand why, because they are trying to encourage business. And if it makes commercial property, vacation homes, and apartments more marketable, more desirable, then yes, it's going to increase commerce. Florida Tax Watch. Well, yeah, I'm guessing. I can't remember. I can't remember who they are. I know I've looked into them at one point, but if I recall correctly, they are similar to me in that they want to decrease taxes. Opponents: League of Women Voters of Florida. Why am I not surprised? Okay. Amendment 3, this is an interesting one. Voter control of gambling in Florida requires approval of any new casino gambling through a citizen initiative constitutional amendment, effectively barring the legislature from making those gambling decisions by passing laws. In the state of Florida, I should look up the law more, but actually I think most states, you can't just open a gambling casino. Most of the gambling casinos that I know of in the South are on the Indian reservations because the reservations are not considered federal land. They belong to the Indian reservation, so they can do pretty much anything they want, including open casinos, which means a lot of them do that because you can make a lot of money with a casino. Of course, we have some places like Las Vegas or whatever where they're just all over the place. But in general, at least in the South, I'm not familiar with the laws up north, but in general, you can't just open a casino if you're not on an Indian reservation. So what this would, people who want to pass Amendment 3 essentially want to say they don't want the legislature to allow businesses to open casinos. They want anytime somebody wants to open a casino, it has to be put before the voters, and the citizenry will vote on whether or not to allow this company to open a casino. I think this is going to pass just because I've heard so many people just huge support for it. They're like, yes, citizens should be able to decide. Citizens should be able to decide. This should be up to us, to decide, not the lawmakers. Take the power out of the hands of the state. And I actually oppose this rather strongly. The issue here is this is not taking power from the state and giving it to the people. It's taking power from the property owners and giving it to the collective. This is essentially a communist move. This is, or sort of, I mean, not exactly, but follow the thinking. It's essentially saying you do not own your property. The collective people own your property, and they can tell you what you can and cannot do with your property. Granted, it's not saying that on a large scale, or I shouldn't say that. It's not saying that on a general scale. It's saying that on a specific scale, gambling, casinos. This is the reason this is most likely going to pass also is at least North Florida is still in the Bible Belt. The South Florida, not so much. And you get a lot of old school Baptists who just say gambling is immoral, gambling is evil, and God would not want gambling here. I don't agree with that. I think that's silly. I think that I will say I think gambling is stupid. I think that it is a waste of money, and it's not safe. Generally speaking, you should not gamble. It's a foolish pastime. It is a waste of money. It is essentially throwing your money away. Just don't do it. That being said, if you have the money to where you can lose whatever you're betting and not be hurt, it's not much different from other forms of entertainment. If you go to a movie theater nowadays, you're going to spend $20 to $30, especially if you get like popcorn or a soda and to go to watch a movie. It's ridiculous how much you spend just to watch a movie. So yeah, gambling, if you don't bet much, or again, if you can afford to lose the money without any serious repercussions and you're not doing it all the time, then I can't say it's worse than other forms of entertainment. It is addictive, but so are a lot of other things. I mean, if you go out drinking every week, anyway, okay, we won't go into it too much. I can see that I'm about to go off on a tangent. I think I've already gone off on one. I'm going to get back on topic. What I'm saying is, I believe this is, again, for me, falls under the principle of private property ownership. If I own a piece of land and I want to build a casino, which I wouldn't, but bear with me for the sake of example, I should be allowed to do that. There's nothing wrong with a casino. There's nothing, granted, a lot of bad stuff generally goes on in casinos nowadays. Yes, they are unhealthy. I mean, it'd be like opening a smoking shop or something like that. It's not a good thing, but it's not an evil thing. Therefore, it should not be illegal. And to say, oh, if you want to open a gambling casino, you can't just apply for a permit. You have to present it to the public to vote on whether you should be allowed to do this or not. No, I am not okay with that. So I am absolutely voting no on Amendment 3, but I do think it's probably going to pass. This one was interesting too. Supporters, Disney Worldwide Services. Well, yeah, because if they open casinos, it's going to cut down on Disney's business because it's essentially another form of entertainment available. Florida Chamber of Commerce is against it. That I can understand, because honestly, I could see gambling is probably going to hurt businesses because, yeah, it does make people waste their money. It's not a good thing. It really isn't. Again, I can't say it's an evil thing, but it's not a good thing either. Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association. I'm a little surprised that they're against it because this would bring a lot more people to Florida. League of Women Voters of Florida. Why am I not surprised? No Casinos, Inc. Yes, of course, they're going to be against casinos. And the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Seminoles were in the news recently, weren't they? Anyway, not going there either. I thought about doing a stream on that. I really did. But I have some, anyway, inside joke. I won't go there. But yes, the Seminole tribe of Florida, on Indian reservations, they can open casinos if they want. That's totally legal. So it would cut into their business if other people could do it. Yeah. The chat says you would think that hotels would want in on that money. Yes, that's why I say I'm surprised that they're not. I'm surprised that they're supporting this. That they don't want it. Anyway, so yeah, so far, yes on Amendment 1, yes on Amendment 2, no on Amendment 3. Amendment 4, Voting Restoration Amendment. This one's a little more interesting. Well, several of them are more interesting. The first two, I think, are the most boring because they're the easiest. But anyway, allows those who have completed their entire sentence to earn the right to vote back, except those convicted of murder or felony sex offenses. Because right now, felons, if someone is a convicted felon, excluding those murder, felony, sex charges, they can't vote. Even after, if they go to jail for however long, after they get out, they still can't vote. They can't even register to vote. So, yes would allow felons, excluding those convicted of murder or felony sex crimes, the right to vote after completing all the terms of their sentence. Governor's Clemency Board studies have shown that recidivism rates drop about 30% if the person has their voting rights restored. Another study shows that with a lower recidivism rate, cost of incarceration goes down, employment goes up, and that the positive impact on the Florida economy is $365 million per year. That's an interesting number. Exactly $1 million per day. Anyway, that makes me question where they get the number from. Moving on. A no vote on Amendment 4 would continue the current requirement that felons wait. Oh, okay, it's not permanent. Yeah, wait a minimum of 5 years before applying to have their voter rights restored, and then appear before the governor and cabinet to appeal for those rights. Continue allowing the governor and cabinet sole authority to determine whether a felon is allowed to vote again. Sorry. This is one I would say a definite yes, because I do believe if someone is convicted of a crime and they are judged to be to deserve a certain punishment, let's say 15 years in jail for some felony crime, or let's say 10, it doesn't matter why. Regardless, I'm about to get off on another tangent. If they have served those 10 years, they have been set free. They've said, all right, you've paid your debt to society. I hate that term, but that's what they call it. Yes, they're now a citizen. It should go back to how it was before. They shouldn't be treated differently if they have already paid their dues, so to speak. If they haven't paid their dues, why are they out of jail? Anyway, I'm feeling myself about to get off on a tangent, so I'm going to try to stay on topic. For me, this is an easy yes. Yes, if they have completed their sentence, then they have paid for their crime, again, according to the law. Therefore, yes, they should be allowed to vote. The arguments for are actually pretty good. I like that. But again, if you know me, I'm not one who votes because this works, or who supports something because it works, or who won't support something because it doesn't work. I support it because it's right, or because it's wrong, or because I believe it's good or believe it's bad. I oppose something because I believe it's bad, support something because I believe it's good. You know what I mean? If you don't know what I mean, what are you doing on my channel? You're going to be very, very confused. Regardless, staying on topic if possible. It's not possible, but hey, I tried. And so this one again, yes, if they have served their full sentence, they should be allowed to vote again. They should not have to wait an extra 5 years. That's silly. And they certainly shouldn't be subject to the whims of the government and the cabinet to decide, yes to you, no to you. I don't like you. I do like you. You're a Republican. You voted for Trump. Nope, you can't vote again. And again, I'm being facetious, obviously, but it's just, that's not okay. That is not okay. So this one, definite yes. Supporters, ACLU. Well, hey, they do some good, and I'm not surprised. Also because, anyway, I kind of want to go there, but again, another tangent. I'm trying to stay on topic. Don't want this stream to be too long. Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, which sounds like something that was actually put together specifically to form this amendment, so I'm not surprised. Floridians for a Fair Democracy. I don't know who that is, and that I can't tell much from that name. Florida Policy Institute. I know that. I think I know them. I think they're pretty good. I don't remember. Florida Education Association. That's interesting. Don't know why they'd care. Florida National Organization for Women. That one confuses me because I don't think we have many convicted felons of women. That's okay. That's fine. League of Women Voters of Florida. Oh, they're for this one. That makes me scared. No, I'm kidding. Oh, and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Okay, so Progress Florida, Southern Poverty Law Center, League of Women Voters. Okay, I don't like any of them, but they're all for this, which just goes to show you, even a broken clock is right twice a day, or depending on if it shows AM and PM. Regardless, I'm not going to get off topic again. Yes, I am, but I'm going to try not to. Regardless, yes, I'm still voting yes for this. I don't care who supports it. I mean, I care. It's interesting, but it doesn't matter. Opponents, Floridians for a Sensible Voting Rights Policy. Never heard of them. I'm wondering again if that's something that formed specifically against this. I don't care. Anyway, like I said, this part, the supporters and opponents, this is just interesting. It doesn't really matter much. Okay. Amendment 5, supermajority vote to required to impose, authorize, or raise state taxes or fees. Just from the name. Anybody that knows me knows what I'm voting on this one. Okay, require a 2/3 vote of the legislature to approve any new or increased taxes or fees rather than a simple majority. So it used to be that, yeah, if they wanted to raise taxes, then, yeah, well, here, a no vote would mean things remain the same, which is allow the legislature to continue approving increased or new taxes and fees through a simple majority vote. 51%, yes, we do it. Okay, allow the legislature to continue bundling tax and fees increases with bills that include other measures. Yeah. Anyway, yes amendment would require a 2/3 vote by the state house and senate to increase existing taxes or fees or to impose new ones. Require that any new or increased taxes or fees be voted on in standalone bills rather than be bundled. Exclude local governments from any supermajority requirements if they choose to raise the taxes or fees. Okay, so that would be like a special district decides that they want to. Well, no, so they have separate laws. Okay, again, not going into it. Ignoring that. I mean, this is an easy one. So for me, I don't approve of taxes, period. I pay my taxes. Absolutely. You need to follow the law, unless the law requires you to do something evil. Even if you don't like the law, even if you don't agree with the law, unless the law is requiring you to do something evil or immoral, you need to follow the law. You can still fight to have it changed. And that's one reason we vote on amendments and we get amendments in here. Yes, I want them changed. I want a lot of these laws changed. But regardless, so this is a change in a positive direction, in my opinion. Yes, make it harder for them to raise taxes. Interestingly enough, this is one that I've been seeing a lot of commercials. I'm sure everybody's been seeing the commercials on YouTube or Facebook or wherever for things in their area, their state or whatever, the amendments, the candidates and whatnot. There was a funny one. Oh, okay, I'm quick tangent. I think it's a mayor. Yes, the guy running for mayor in my hometown. I've been seeing lots and lots of commercials for that, just attacking the one guy. It says, "We have an option. Do you want to vote for this guy?" And gave the name and says he was indicted for tax fraud and misuse of taxpayer money. Or do you want to vote for? And they give this other name with this happy music. He will never misuse tax money. And then vote for. And I'm not giving the name because I don't want to say where I am. Anyway, and I thought, okay, that's annoying. You're not telling me what he stands for. You're not telling me what the other guy stands for or anything. Well, finally, I heard a commercial for the other guy. And all he said was, my opponent voted for Trump. My opponent continues to support Trump. If you hate Trump, vote for me. And I'm just like, okay, so his platform is my opponent, okay, apparently one guy's Republican, or obviously one's Republican, one's Democrat. The Republican's platform is that guy was accused of embezzling taxpayer money, essentially, but I am not. And the Democrats' platform is that guy supports Trump and I don't. And I mean, wow. They're just really bad. But anyway, so I've been seeing commercials for the amendments, and it's been interesting just watching the commercials, thinking, if I didn't know anything about the amendment, what would I vote on if all I had to go by were the commercials? And the commercials for Amendment 5 are showing lots of old people saying Amendment 5 hurts old people. Amendment 5 hurts old people. Amendment 5 hurts old people. And I'm like, wait, I know what Amendment 5 is. Why? Why are you even saying that? And I finally saw a slightly longer commercial that says Amendment 5 hurts old people because it limits the amount of money that businesses have to pay to protect old people. Therefore, they're not going to get as many benefits because businesses won't have to pay as high of taxes. I'm thinking, wow, the twisted logic you have to go through to get to that. My goodness. Anyway, that long tangent to say, don't believe the commercials. Seriously, if you see commercials saying, oh, you need to vote this because of that, they're probably lying. I mean, it's pretty disgusting. So anyway, this one, supermajority required to impose, authorize, or raise state taxes or fees. Yes. I don't care who it's about. I mean, well, I do care, but yes, absolutely. I do not want taxes raised, so make it harder to raise taxes. I am all for that. One sec. Okay, Amendment 6. This is the most confusing one, and I actually had to do some research on it. The commercials, from the commercials alone, I wanted to vote no on it just because it looked like typical feminist propaganda saying all men are rapists and all women are victims. I mean, that's seriously what it looked like. It was just the commercials were disgusting. And it didn't tell me anything about what the bill was actually about. So it was very frustrating. So, where was it? Vastly expands the scope of victims' rights. Oh, we didn't look at who's for and against the supermajority vote. So I know it's going to be fun. Supporters, Florida Tax Watch. Yes, because they don't like taxes. Florida Chamber of Commerce. Makes sense because, again, it's going to help businesses. Opponents, Florida Education Association. Well, yeah, they're going to want more taxes. Florida Policy Institute. I thought they were right-wing, so okay, I don't remember. League of Women Voters of Florida. Why am I not surprised? Progress Florida, of course. And the SPLC. Why does the SPLC even care? Seriously, why do they care about taxes in Florida? That doesn't make any sense. Whatever. Moving on. Because I think they're based out of Texas or Louisiana. I think it's Louisiana. I don't remember. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, moving on. Rights of crime victims and judges. Vastly expands the scope of victims' rights under the state constitution, increases the mandatory retirement age for judges from 70 to 75, forces courts and judges to interpret laws and rules for themselves rather than rely on interpretations by government agencies. Okay, again, this one is very confusing, very complicated, and I had to actually pull up the text of the amendment itself and read through it to figure out how I felt about it. Let's just say. Okay, a yes vote on Amendment 6 would enshrine in the state constitution an array of victims' rights, many of which are currently in state law, place new time limits on filing appeals, require that victims receive some written notification of their rights, eliminate an existing constitutional provision that ensures victim rights don't infringe on the rights of the accused criminals, and we'll come back to that. That was kind of the deciding factor for me. Raise the mandatory retirement age for the Supreme Court justice and judges from 70 to 75. Prohibit courts and judges from deferring to an administrative agency's interpretation of state laws or rules when deciding cases. A no vote on Amendment 6 would retain existing victims' rights in the Constitution and in state law, keep the mandatory retirement ages for judges and justices at 70. I said that backwards, but whatever. Continue allowing courts and judges to rely on state agencies' interpretation of laws and rules when deciding cases. Supporters, Florida sheriffs, Florida Smart Justice. Opponents, ACLU of Florida. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I guess every state probably has their own little ACLU. Florida Public Defenders Association. Oh, League of Women Voters of Florida and the SPLC. I'm surprised they're against it. I'm very surprised they're against it. I'm not surprised the SPLC is against it. I would have expected that, but the League of Women Voters, I really would have expected them to be for it. That's interesting. Anyway, regardless. Okay, reading through it, and I should have brought it up here. Amendment 6. Here we go. Okay, the actual text of the law. This is what's already on the books. The underlined is what's being added to it. And this is, again, one that I had to read through just because it is it's a long one. I mean, if you look at all the underlined, it changes a lot. Excuse me, and takes out some bits. Okay. So I'm going to go through some of this. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but some of it, just to kind of give you an idea of why I came to the decision I came to. And spoiler alert, I oppose it. I'm going to vote no on this one. So, to preserve and protect the rights of crime victims to achieve justice, ensure a meaningful role throughout the criminal and juvenile justice systems for crime victims, and ensure that crime victims' rights and interests are respected and protected by law in a manner no less vigorous than the protections afforded to criminal defendants and juvenile delinquents, every victim is entitled to the following rights, beginning at the time of his or her victimization. That's important. Beginning at the time of his or her victimization, which means all of this takes place before the defendant has been convicted. The right to due process and to be treated with fairness and respect for the victim's dignity. What screams out at you for that? What is it when people get upset with police officers for asking questions of rape victims? And they say, oh, we need to be treated with fairness and respect. The victim's dignity needs to be respected. It's like, well, you're not a victim until it's been proven the crime has been committed, first of all. The right to be free from intimidation, harassment, and abuse. You can't, well, first of all, that's way too broad. And that is going to be way too easy to misinterpret it, to abuse. That's going to lead to a lot of abuse, of legal abuse. Okay. The right within the judicial process to be reasonably protected from the accused and any person acted on behalf of the accused. Now, this is very important. The right within the judicial process to be reasonably protected from the accused and any person acting on behalf of the accused. This means any person who comes forward and accuses another person of committing a crime against them can expect protection and has it enshrined in law now, or would have it enshrined in law, that they are protected from the person they have accused before the person is convicted. There doesn't even necessarily have to be evidence. I don't know. I mean, it does say within the judicial process, so there probably needs to be at least some modicum of evidence. I don't know. But the accused, not the convicted. This is a problem. Yeah. The right to have the safety and welfare of the victim and the victim's family considered when setting bail, including setting pretrial release conditions that protect the safety and welfare of the victim and the victim's family. Pretrial release conditions, meaning they haven't even been tried yet. At this point, they have only been accused. And the victim and the victim's family have to be taken into account when considering whether or not to set bail. I can see some reasons to support that but I can see so many ways that can be abused. I don't like that. That one is not one that would decide me one way or the other, because I get what they're saying. I get where they're coming from, but there's too much potential for abuse. And again, so far there's been several other things that are just way too, no, not okay. The right to prevent the disclosure of information or records that could be used to locate or harass the victim or the victim's family, or which could disclose confidential or privileged information on the victim. I have no problem with that. A victim shall have the following specific rights upon request: the right to reasonable, accurate, and timely notice of, and to be present at all public proceedings involving the criminal conduct, including but not limited to trial, plea, sentencing, or adjudication, even if the victim will be a witness at the proceedings, notwithstanding any rule to the contrary. This one, okay, I could spend a lot of time on this. This one, I could get into why this is a problem also. Again, this is one of those fallacies of good intentions. I can see where they're coming from, but I can see so much potential abuse with this. It could just be, and again, I could go on. This is a long one. Feel free to read about it yourself if you like. Anyway, this is one that I'm definitely going to be voting no on, just because if you read through it, I've given you a few examples. I see too much potential for abuse with this. It's just, I don't think it's good. I actually think that if it passed, it would be very, very bad. So again, I'm a little surprised the League of Women Voters of Florida is against it. Um, I don't know. Maybe I should look into them a little more. Maybe I should figure out where they actually stand. Maybe they're not. Maybe it's not what their name seems to suggest. SPLC, I'm not surprised they're against it, because they say what you want about them. They do want to protect minorities who are falsely accused, and that's a good thing. And ACLU, same thing. They protect people who are falsely accused. And this is going to seriously hurt people who have been falsely accused. It's not going to provide many protections for people who are actual victims, because there are already protections in place. So it's, I think Amendment 6 is very bad, and I really hope it does not pass. I'm definitely voting no on Amendment 6. Well, and when I say I think it's very bad, I think that as a whole, it's very bad. There are certainly some points in here that are good. I like several things that are in there, and if we didn't read through the whole thing, but I showed you at least one or two that was like, yeah, that one's okay, or I mean, this one's actually pretty good. But on the whole, there's way too much bad, and the whole thing is way too open to misuse. So definite no on Amendment 6. Amendment 7, first responder and military member survivor benefits, public colleges and universities. This is, yeah, one of those, well, anyway, we'll read through it a bit before I actually give an opinion. Have one sec again. Sorry, I have a drink here, but it has ice in it, so I mute the mic if I'm taking a drink because it's loud. Okay, create a supermajority requirement for universities to impose new or increase existing student fees. I mean, I like that, to be honest. Enshrines in the Constitution guidelines for the state college system. I don't know. Mandates that employers or the state pay a death benefit to first responders and members of the military killed in the line of duty. This one, people who know me well know what I'm going to say. People who don't know me well are going to be shocked by what I would say. I oppose that. And the reason is I oppose government benefits. And all right, I'm going off on another tangent again. I'm going to tell a little story that I have told on stream before, not on my stream, on other people's streams. So some of you guys have heard this already. Way back when the country was still comparatively new, or well, it was newer than it is now, Davy Crockett served as, I think, a congressman. I have a terrible memory, so I may have messed it up, but I think he was a congressman. Anyway, or no, I think he was a senator. He was a senator. Okay, we're going to go with senator. Sorry if I'm wrong. But anyway, he served, and he did a lot of good, and he fought for a lot of good stuff. Well, one day there came before the Senate a bill, because there had been a fire in, I guess it was in DC or something, a huge fire. A lot of people some people were killed. A lot of people their homes were destroyed. They lost everything. And the Senate said, we want to put aside this portion of money to help the victims. And pretty much everybody voted yes. Davy Crockett voted yes. He's like, yeah, that's a great idea. This is good. We need to help these people who have been hurt. A little later, Davy Crockett was out riding around in his constituency, and there was a farmer or something, and he stopped to say hello. And the farmer said, oh yeah, I voted for you in the last election. Don't worry, I won't vote for you again. And of course, Davy Crockett's like, wait, what? What are you talking about? Why? And he brought up that instance, and he said, the money that you guys have, that you collect in taxes, that's not yours. That's ours. That's mine. I paid for it. I did not want that. If I wanted money to go to the victims of this fire, I would donate money myself. That is not your money to donate. You had no right to do it. And Davy Crockett thought about it, and he said, yeah, you're right. That makes sense. Taxpayer dollars belong to the taxpayers. They don't belong to the Senate to dole out to special interest groups, or not even special interest groups, to people that they think, oh yeah, these poor people, we should help them. You can't help them with taxpayer monies. Anyway, I Oh, Silly Sailor says that it was a congressman, not a senator. I can't remember. I get them mixed up. Okay. I originally said he was a congressman, but then I thought I was wrong, so I went with the senator. Yeah. Yeah, and he's British, so he's getting on me about that. I have a bad memory. Regardless, it's not a big deal. Regardless, so then he goes back to, we'll say, Congress, and another bill came up shortly thereafter. There was a soldier had been killed in the line of duty, and he was a soldier who had served well, and he left behind a wife and a young child. And so the Congress or the Senate, whichever one, said it wanted to set aside some money for her to help her out because she was now left destitute, essentially, because because her husband had died serving his country. And Davy Crockett stood up and said, no. He said, look, if we want to raise a collection for her, I say absolutely yes, and I will donate money from my own pocket. But we have no right to take the taxpayer money and use it for this. We can't use taxpayer money for charity. It doesn't belong to us. If we want to donate to charity, we can donate ourselves. And he was voted down. It passed. He was probably one of the only people voting no on it. Anyway, that's my strong opinion. People say, oh, we need to help these people. And I say, no, private charities need to help. If you want to help them, give your own money. Do not take my money from me by force to give to someone who you think deserves it. Even if I think they deserve it, I should be the one to give it to them. I shouldn't have to give it to you and then you give it to them, unless I choose to do that. So this mandates that employers or the state pay a death benefit to first responders and members of the military killed in the line of duty. No, I'm not okay with that. And first responder, and military member survivor benefits. No. Yeah, and it's pay a death benefit to first responders. So essentially give a payout to the family members they left behind. Once again, no, I can't support that. So a yes vote would force university boards of trustees and the state board of governors to get supermajority approval from their members to increase student fees or impose new ones. I like that. Make the governing framework for state colleges a part of the Constitution. I don't like that, but that would be a complicated one to talk about why. Create a constitutional requirement for state and local governments to pay death benefits to first responders. No, absolutely not. Again, they should. I am all in favor of supporting them and have a charity set up specifically for that. Yeah, I'll donate to it, but not with state money. No, not okay with that. Expand the definition of first responders under state law to include paramedics and emergency medical technicians. Okay, see, I was going to actually go off on another tangent why I'm not okay with that, to say, oh, see, right now they're doing it with first responders, and then next they're going to do it with this people, and these people, and this people, and this, and I thought, no, I'm not going to go off on another tangent. I just went off on a long one, but look at that! They're already expanding the definition, even inside this law that's, giving the benefits. So I'm like, yeah, okay, anyway. Require the state to provide death benefits to members of the U.S. military who are either residents of Florida or who are stationed in the state. No. Create an undetermined financial burden on local and state government from paying. Oh, this is what it will do. Okay. I'm like, that's really not what it's intended to do, but yeah, okay. To a larger group of first responders and members of the military, the amendment does not specify a funding source for those payments. Yeah, they're just going to, anyway. Florida's already in debt. Pretty much, most of the states, I think, are in debt to the federal government. It's pretty crazy, just considering the federal government is in debt to China. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to spend more money. I'm not going to go off on a tangent. If no vote would continue allowing universities to increase student fees or impose new ones by a simple majority of votes from the governing bodies. Again, I don't like that, but I'd rather leave that alone than add on the other stuff. Exclude a governing framework for state colleges from the Constitution while keeping it in state law. Yeah, again, I'm not going to go into that one because it's irrelevant considering like I said, I'm opposed to this one. Continue providing death benefits for first responders through state law rather than make it a part of the Constitution. Oh, so it's already in state law. Well, leave it alone then. Get rid of it. Anyway, moving on. So basically, a no vote isn't even going to change anything. I mean, they're still going to get it. Maintain the current definition of first responders eligible for death benefits, which excludes paramedics and emergency medical technicians. Okay. Continue providing death benefits to the family of National Guardsmen who are killed in the line of duty, but not extend those benefits to families of the U.S. service members who live in Florida. Well, yeah, U.S. service members, again, they're covered by the federal government. We don't need to just add to it regardless. Supporters Association of Florida Colleges. Why would they support that? I mean, it limits their fees. Okay. Opponents, Florida Education Association, and the League of Women Voters of Florida. Okay. Again, I'm surprised they're opposed to it. Maybe they're not as bad as they... Okay, I should look into that. Anyway, regardless, Amendment 7, no. And I think I went into why. Okay, Amendment 9. Wait, why did... Oh, yeah, Amendment 8 was struck. So it was removed. What was Amendment 8? I'm trying to... Oh, school board term limits, duties in public schools. Yeah, I don't know what it would have been, or whether I would have approved, would have liked it or not. Anything to do with the public schools, I probably wouldn't have had a strong opinion, but I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, Amendment 9, prohibit offshore oil and gas drilling, prohibit vaping in enclosed indoor workplaces. Right now, it is illegal to smoke in public buildings in the state of Florida. And this is interesting. One of the things that actually started me on my political journey to where I am now was a conversation I had as a young teen with my older sister when they passed the law to ban smoking, or they were trying to pass a law to ban smoking in public places. So it used to be that in the state of Florida, if you go to a restaurant, they would ask you smoking or non-smoking. And I can remember that growing up, they had the smoking section and the non-smoking section. And it's just the way it was. If you go to a hotel, you can have a smoking room or a non-smoking room. So a room where you're allowed to smoke inside, or a room where you're not allowed to smoke inside. That way, people who didn't want to be around cigarette smoke wouldn't have to be. Or, I mean, you'd still get it. If you sit in a restaurant near the smoking section, you're still going to smell it. I mean, obviously, it carries over. But anyway, when I was a young teen, they presented, I guess, an amendment or a law or something to that would make smoking illegal in public places like restaurants or hotels or whatever. You couldn't have a smoking section and a non-smoking section. Smoking was illegal. If you want to smoke, you have to smoke outside. You cannot smoke inside. Apparently vaping is okay. But when they proposed that, I was all in favor of it because I said, yeah, I mean, smoking is terrible. It kills people, and you don't want to be around it anyway, and it does damage to the buildings. And I said, yeah, this is great. And my older sister, and everybody I knew was for it. Everybody I knew was just said, oh, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. And my older sister got very frustrated with me and said, no, this is the government making a law saying what you're doing is unhealthy. Therefore, you shouldn't be allowed to do it. And she said, the next thing you know, they're going to try to ban fats and sugars. And at the time I said, oh, that's ridiculous. They'd never do that. But it made me think. And I really thought about what she said. And I thought, you're right. That's true. The government has no right to ban something just because it's unhealthy. And it really, I don't know if she knows it, but she helped shape me into the politically the person I am today. Just that conversation as a young teen. Anyway, so this is interesting. This amendment, it's funny because the millennials here in Florida, the younger people, are all for, oh yeah, we need to prohibit offshore oil and gas drilling. Wait, you want to prohibit vaping? That's not okay. So people are kind of split on this one, let's just say. Because vaping, of course, doesn't give smoke, right, or something. I don't know how vaping works exactly, but apparently it doesn't count like cigarette smoke or something. So I think you can vape. I don't know how it works, to be honest. I don't care. I don't smoke. I've never smoked. I have no interest in it. Regardless, for this one, this would also be an easy one for me. Prohibit offshore oil and gas drilling. No, I'm not in favor of that. Again, because I'm not in favor of government regulations on, saying you can do this, you can't do that. As far as business, that's not actually hurting people. And I know there's this huge environmental concerns for offshore oil and gas drilling. I'm not going to get into it, but basically, no, I don't have a problem with it. And prohibit vaping in the workplace. No, I'm against that also, even though I would never smoke. I have no interest in smoking. It's just, okay, Chad, that I like, I'm not going to read it, but yeah, feel free to read the chat if you're watching this later. You can still read the chat. Nice. But anyway, staying on topic if possible. I would say yes, if you want to vape indoors and your employer is okay with that in workplaces, if the building you're in says it's okay, then yeah, it's okay. And if I don't like it, I won't go in that building. But to make a law that says no, even businesses can't allow this in the workplace, no, I'm not in favor of that. So again, this is an easy no for me. You know, I'm not in favor of prohibiting offshore oil and gas drilling. I'm not in favor of prohibiting vaping. So don't even need to go into the details. It's just that's a no. Hang on one sec. Okay, and oh, sorry about that. Supporters, Florida Wildlife Federation, not surprised. I mean, yeah, because of the oil, the drilling and whatnot. Gulf Restoration Network, yeah, they're going to oppose it. American Cancer Society, Cancer Action Network. Is that supposed to be two things or one? I think that's because American Cancer Society is one thing. Cancer Action Network, I'm guessing. Anyway, of course, they're going to want to make smoking illegal. And yeah, you don't smoke. Smoking is stupid. You shouldn't smoke. Okay. That's what I would say. And yeah, and I think that people shouldn't smoke, but I think they should be allowed to smoke. It's like making dirty jokes. Don't do it. I don't want to hear it, but I'm not going to say it should be illegal. No, it shouldn't be illegal. It's just shouldn't be done in polite society. Moving on. The League of Women Voters of Florida. So they're supporting. Okay, see, you're lowering my opinion of you guys again. Who are they? I need to look into it. Florida Policy Institute and Progress Florida. I'm not surprised. Florida Policy Institute. They're not who I was thinking then. I thought they were somebody else. Anyway, opponents. Florida Petrol Council. Yeah, of course they would be opposed to this. Understandably so. Associated Industries of Florida. Don't know why they would be opposed, but sure. Consumer Advocates for Smoke-Free Alternatives Association. So that makes sense, yes, because they probably are promoting vaping as opposed to cigarettes. Anyway, and the Florida Chamber of Commerce, yes, because they're probably. My guess is possibly the oil and gas drilling is going to increase commerce, but also they're supporting the rights of the workplaces to make those decisions. My guess. Anyway, we're getting there. 3 more. Okay, Amendment 10, State and Local Government Structure and Operation. That doesn't tell me much. And actually, I haven't really read up on Amendment 9 was as far as I got when I was looking at them beforehand. So I did mention this might be a research stream. We'll see. I might have to look into some of these a little more deeply. Require the legislature to hold its session in early January on even-numbered years. Why? Okay. Creates an Office of Domestic Security and Counterterrorism within the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. No. That just sounds too much like patriotic. I don't like that. And I'm giving my first reaction here. I'm not my final decision, just my first reaction. Mandates the existence of a State Department of Veterans Affairs. No, I just, that would be a long conversation of why. Forces all counties to elect a sheriff, tax collector, property appraiser, supervisor elections, and clerk of circuit court. Why? Anyway, okay. A yes vote on Amendment 10 would fix the date for state legislative sessions in even-numbered years as the second Tuesday in January. Again, who cares and why? You're not giving me I need to read the bill probably. Okay, create an Office of Domestic Security and Counterterrorism within the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and establish it as the lead agency in terror investigations and responses. No, we already, I mean, again, we're too, what would be the word? We're too paranoid already. We don't need to add to the paranoia. Okay, force the legislature to always have a Department of Veterans Affairs. Again, that's one that I could take a long time to talk about. I'm just generally, no, I'm not okay with that. Force all Florida counties, even those with a charter, to hold elections for all 5 local constitutional offices found in the state constitution: sheriff, property appraiser, supervisor election, tax collector, and clerk of circuit courts. No, if the county doesn't want to, then no. It's just, I grew up in we have counties here that don't, okay, again, I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent. I guess I'm looking at this, I'm thinking about it, and I can see the good intention behind this, but no. No, I'm not. I think that the counties should be able to decide if they want to have elections or not. They shouldn't be forced to do that. Okay, and no vote would continue allowing the legislature to set a start date for its lawmaking session in even numbered years. Is it really a big deal? I mean, does anybody really? Obviously, somebody cares. Okay, reject a constitutionally mandated Office of Security and Counterterrorism under the FDLE. Thank you. Yes. Reject a constitutionally mandated Department of Veterans Affairs, allowing the legislature to determine if Florida should have such a department, which it currently does. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It already has one. So, yeah, reject it. We don't put that in the Constitution. Allow Florida's charter counties to continue determining the duties of 5 county offices identified in the state constitution, whether those offices should be elected posts. Yeah, let them choose. Supporters. Florida 66 elected sheriffs. Well, yeah, it's going to expand the FDLE, so of course they would like that. Florida's elected tax collectors. Yeah. Clerks of court and the property appraisers. Yeah. Opponents. League of Women Voters of Florida. I need to look into who they are. Because yes, okay. Just reading over what this has here, I'm against that. I'm going to say no. And again, this is a no vote means leave things the way they are. For all of these, a no vote means leave things the way they are. So in this one, now, if it wasn't as late as it is, I don't even know how late it is. Oh yeah, it's 9 o'clock already. Okay, if it wasn't as late as it is, and I might pull it up and read more about it just to be sure. But I mean, just okay, domestic security and counterterrorism. I mean, that's enough for me to say no. I'm not in favor of that. This I just don't care. So I'm wondering why would you even want to put that in the Constitution? Why? I like somebody in the chat said, yeah, it's just, yeah, this is the bureaucracy amendment. That's what it sounds like. So no, this whole thing just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm going to say no. Amendment 10, no. Amendment 11, property rights. Okay, I like the name. Removal of obsolete provision. That tells me nothing. And criminal statutes. That could mean anything. Okay, and granted, property rights could mean much anything, but yeah, hey, I like the title of this one. Again, I hadn't read 10, 11, or 12, so I don't know what these are yet. All right, repeals the state's ability to prohibit non-citizens from buying, owning, and selling property. Deletes a provision that forces the state to prosecute criminal suspects under the law which they were originally charged. Yes, I correct grammar in my head. Even if the legislature changes that law. Okay, so that's interesting. Deletes obsolete language having to do with high-speed rail in Florida. Okay, that's interesting. Silly Sailor is asking, why are all these combined in weird packages of unrelated issues? And the reason is people will often, they know that they can pass something unpopular if they group it in with something popular, like the Amendment 9, the offshore oil and gas drilling. Whoever wanted to ban vaping knew that if they just put that on the ballot, it's going to fail. I mean, it's going to, in order to pass an amendment in the state of Florida, I believe it needs a 2/3. It's at least 60%. I think it's a 2/3 majority, yes, to pass. They can't, it's not a simple majority. So everybody voting, if you have 55% of people vote yes, 45% of people vote no, it doesn't pass. So they know there's no way they would pass banning vaping. Okay, but they know that most people in Florida would love to ban offshore oil and gas drilling. So they stick it in there hoping that it's going to pass under that. Even though, yeah, they're completely unrelated. Almost completely unrelated. Essentially, basically, anyway. Okay. So, one sec. Teal Deer has something nice when he mutes his mic to take a drink when he's on a research stream. I can't remember. I mean, he'll usually say, oh, delicious bleach. But he says something more interesting than just 1 second. Anyway. Okay, property rights. Yes. even the legislature. Okay, so again, that's not telling me much. I might actually have to bring up the text to figure out what this is actually saying. So a yes vote would repeal a nearly century-old provision. Okay. Just because it's old doesn't mean we should delete it. Just because it's old doesn't mean we should follow it. Okay. Old doesn't influence my decision at all. So, repeal a provision, ignoring that allows the legislature to restrict the property rights of non-citizens. Okay, yeah, I'm in favor of that. Yeah, legislature should not be allowed to restrict the property rights of anybody, whether they're a citizen or not. And by the way, this is not telling me whether it's a non-citizen, meaning they're not a citizen of America, or just not a citizen of Florida. So somebody from Texas buys a vacation home on St. George Island, they are not a citizen of Florida. So does that mean that the legislature could restrict their property rights because they're not a citizen of Florida? I don't know. Or is this saying drug lord in Colombia decides to buy a vacation home on St. George Island, which for those who aren't anywhere near Florida, St. George Island is one of our very nice, very fancy, very expensive beaches that is in danger of getting destroyed every time there's a hurricane. But anyway, that's why I referenced them. It's also not as crowded, say, as down in the Keys or anything like that. So it's a lot more reasonable for somebody to have a house on St. George Island. Anyway, deletes language that requires criminal suspects to be prosecuted under the provisions of the law of which they're accused, even if that law is changed by the legislature. Keeps language that requires prosecution if the law is repealed. I'm not in favor of that. And again, I think I would, to have a really firm opinion on that one, I would need to read more detail on it. But essentially what it's saying is if someone breaks the law, they're arrested, they're awaiting trial, but then the law is changed. Let's say the law is repealed. Let me say, okay, well, it used to be illegal to smoke inside a state building. So this person was smoking, they got arrested, and I'm giving a silly example, but they're in jail awaiting trial, and then that law was repealed. Okay, it's no longer illegal to smoke in the state building. Well, he still has to be tried under the law as if it's still in place. No, I'm not okay with that. Now, I guess it could depend on the wording. If it could also be that they say, if you're smoking inside a state building, then you can be arrested and be charged $300 or spend 30 days in jail, depending. So while they're awaiting trial, it's increased, and now, if you're smoking inside a state building, it's going to be $1,000 or 3 months in jail. In that case, trying them under the old law would be nicer. But yeah, no, I'm not okay with that. I think that if the law is changed, it should affect everybody. You shouldn't be tried for something under a law that has been repealed, or you shouldn't. Yeah, I don't like that. And again, I would probably, to have a very firm, this is just for me to decide yes or no, to have a firm opinion, to actually give a lecture on this or something, I would need to read the law. But from what they're saying, no, I don't like them. From what they're saying, I like the amendment because it would delete the language that requires them to be prosecuted under that. So I'm in favor of that. So repeal a provision that allows the legislature to restrict the property rights of non-citizens. Yes, take that out. Delete the language requiring criminal suspects to be prosecuted under the provisions of the law of which they're accused, even if that law is changed by the legislature. Yes, take that out. Deletes a section of the Constitution concerning high-speed transportation that was repealed by voters in 2004. Okay. The section was repealed, but the language was not removed. So essentially, this is just cleanup. They're saying, we did repeal this, but we didn't actually physically cross it out. So can we have permission to physically cross it out? It's not literally what they're saying, but yeah, basically. Okay, Cave is saying it's non-citizens of the state, non-citizens of the state, not non-citizens of the U.S. So absolutely, yes, get rid of that language. That's ridiculous. If you're a citizen in Texas and you own a vacation home in Florida, you should still have the same rights, the same property rights of a citizen of Florida. That's silly otherwise. Okay, a no vote would mean continue to allow the legislature to pass laws restricting the property rights of non-citizens, continue to mandate that criminal suspects. Anyway, you're missing a You're missing a word there. Continue to mandate that criminal suspects be prosecuted under the law of which they're accused. Yeah, they're putting that in the wrong place anyway. Or they're accused of breaking. Okay, that's fine. They're accused of breaking. Then they should have a that. Moving on. Okay. Yes, I'm sorry, Cave. Yeah, I know it's Cave. It's just I know. Yeah, there's a similar name that's pronounced Cave. It's a Spanish name, and I know I have some Spanish friends. So yeah, I just keep thinking the wrong name. Moving on. I'm not trying to make it fancy. It's just I'm used to seeing names spelled almost the exact same way that's pronounced differently. It's like Juanita. Have you ever seen Juanita spelt? If you haven't, you should. It's anyway. Moving on. You're distracting me. Okay. Continue to mandate that criminal suspects be prosecuted under the law that they're accused of breaking, even if the state changes that law. Retain a section of the Constitution about high-speed transportation, even though the voters repealed that section in 2004. So yeah, I mean, this one seems like an easy yes. Yes, yes, Amendment 11. Yes. Okay, supporters. Everybody supports it. There are no point. Okay. Supporters. Florida Chamber of Commerce. Yeah. Southern Poverty Law Center. I guess because of the criminal portion? I don't know. ACLU of Florida. Same reason, I guess. Progress Florida. Don't know why they would, but okay. Florida Now. I don't know who they are, but that sounds fun. And National Conference of Jewish Women. Why? I mean, okay. I'm sorry. I just, only thing I can think of is the property rights of non-citizens. So are there a lot of Jews that own property in Florida and don't live here? I could come up with all sorts of conspiracies. This is why I like this site, because just reading who supports it and who opposes it is so much fun. Okay. Anyway, so far, yes on Amendment 11. Last one. Lobby and abuse of office by public officials or public officers. Wow. Sorry, it's getting late. Whew. What's Silly Sailor asks, why does your Constitution have a section on high-speed rail? It's something that was... I actually know if it was 2004, maybe not, but back when Obamacare was first passed, and I don't remember when it was, to be honest, but there was a provision in there that basically it mandated the states have to, it's one of those things, grouping laws with other laws. The states had to provide increased benefits for Medicare and Medicaid, which is older people and poorer people. And the federal government would give them money to cover the difference if each state would agree to put in a high-speed rail. And some of the states were like, no, we don't want high-speed rail. And the federal government said, fine, you are going to pay for the increase in health care coverage, so for the elderly and the poor. And what Florida did is, well, they basically said, we're not putting in high-speed rail, and we're not increasing the coverage. What are you going to do about it? And I was like, go Florida, yeah. Again, I don't remember all the details. My memory is so bad, but it was pretty cool at the time. So anyway, all right. So moving on. Expands ethics rules for elected officials and government employees, notably by expanding from 2 to 6 years the time that many officials would have to wait before they could lobby state government. Expand ethics rules for elected officials and government employees, notably by expanding from 2 to 6 years the time that many officials would have to wait before they could lobby state government. Okay. A yes vote on Amendment 12 would extend the ban on state lobbying by legislatures and statewide elected officials from 2 to 6 years. Is that after they leave office? I should pull up the text on this one. Prohibit legislatures and statewide elected officials from lobbying federal and local government agencies while in office. Okay, so it must be after they leave office, because okay, you can't do it at all in office. You have to wait 6 years. It used to be, I guess you could wait 2 years, but now you have to wait 6 years after leaving office before you become a lobbyist. Prohibit top state agency employees from any lobbying while working for the state and from lobbying state government for 6 years after leaving their job. Yeah, okay, so basically what I was saying there. So elected officials, that applies, and also top state agency employees. Prohibit local elected officials from getting paid to lobby anyone while in office and from lobbying their own governing body for 6 years after leaving office. Prohibit judges from lobbying any branch of state government for 6 years after leaving the bench. Prohibit any elected official or public employee from using his or her position to gain, quote, a quote, disproportionate benefit, unquote, a term to be defined by the State Ethics Commission. So we haven't defined this term yet, but this is what they can't do. And a no vote would keep in place the current constitutional restrictions on lobbying by sitting in former government officials. Supporters, Common Cause. I don't know who you are. Florida Policy Institute. You're the one I thought I knew, but I don't. Integrity Florida. Don't know who you are. Opponents, Florida Chamber of Commerce. That's interesting. I guess Florida Chamber of Commerce supports lobbying. That's interesting. This is one where I really don't have a strong opinion. I shouldn't say. Oh, there's another one. Oh, yeah, because there are 12 amendments. Okay, and the 8th one was removed. So yes, we'll get onto that one. I mean, I like the concept. I do like the concept. It's it is a little more difficult because I'm just trying to think of how this one fits from a principled position, not just do I like it. Because if I was just voting emotional, do I like it? Yeah, I like it. Vote yes. The question is that acceptable? Would a yes vote violate principles? Because I do believe in freedom. So to say, oh, you can't do this, you can do this, I generally don't want to say that. But it is different if you are, well, if you're if you're elected to state office. I have a lot of opinions on that. I'm not sure about that one. I like prohibit any elected official or public employee from using his or her position to gain a disproportionate benefit. I like that. I don't like, this is a term that has yet to be defined. I don't like that. I'm definitely leaning toward yes, but I don't know about this one. And if it wasn't so late, it's just, yeah, it's getting late. If it wasn't so late, I would bring up the text to read it. What I might do is I might still bring up the text myself. But this one, I'm leaning yes, but I honestly might leave that one blank. I'm not sure. Just because I don't like to vote if I'm not sure. Anyway, okay, Amendment 13. I have heard of this one, haven't read it yet. Bans wagering on any type of dog racing, notably greyhounds, as of December 31st, 2020, while continuing to allow dog tracks to continue offering other types of gambling, including poker rooms. Yes vote on Amendment 13 would ban all dog racing in Florida while allowing tracks to continue, result in a loss of about $1 million in taxes and fees. Over what time period? Over the next 20 years? Over the next year? That basically tells me nothing because it doesn't give a time period. Okay, no vote would continue to allow wagering on dog racing in Florida. Supporters, Gray 2K USA, League of Women Voters of Florida. Opponents, Florida Greyhound Association, Florida Chamber of Commerce. And that's kind of to be expected. This is one that if I was voting emotionally, I would vote absolutely yes. If I'm voting principally, I would vote absolutely no. This is one that's a little more complicated because dog racing, principled position is freedom of association, freedom if you're not hurting anybody. So something like this, I would say, yeah, people should be free to bet on dog racing if they want to. I don't approve of it. I don't like it, but they should be allowed to do it. Now, emotionally, why don't I like it? Because dog tracks, it's similar to horse racing. It's similar to anything else involving animals. Inevitably leads to a lot of animal abuse. Not necessarily intentionally. It's more like animal neglect. Well, it's kind of a mixture. It's not abuse like you'd normally think of. They're not hurting the dogs in order to hurt the dogs. It's more, they're not treating the dogs well. I mean, I guess they're treating them as well as you treat a race car or something like that. They're not treating them like dogs. They're not treating them like actual living, breathing beings. They're treating them like assets. And once they're no longer useful, I mean, I assume they'll just kill them. I don't know what they do, to be honest. But I've heard unpleasant things. I just don't know. I don't know that it's true. I've just heard things. So dog racing is not good for dogs. I mean, the whole thing is just, it's bad. I don't like it. I don't like what they do. I don't like gambling. I don't think people should gamble. So again, emotionally, I would want to vote yes, but principally, I would have to vote no, because this is something where I think people should be allowed to do it. So this is one I am actually going to vote no, even though I would love to see dog racing gone. Still, I vote on principle, not on feelings. And principally, I have to say no. People should be allowed to do this. And if it can be proven that a company is abusing the dogs, then yeah, they can be shut down. You can bring that to, if you want to say outlaw dog abuse of animals, well, that's already outlawed. This isn't doing it. It's trying to indirectly outlaw it by just getting rid of it altogether. So I understand the good intentions behind it. I support the good intentions behind it, but based on principle, I have to vote no. Okay. That was longer than I was planning. I wasn't planning to go that long. And okay, so this is Amendment 12. I'm still not sure. Again, just emotionally, I just want to vote yes. Just say yes. But principally, I'm not sure. So I might not vote on that one. But dog racing, voting no. Again, based on principle. Property rights, voting yes. Amendment 10, state and local government structure and operation, no. As they said, RC, I think, said that's the bureaucracy amendment. Let's just not. Amendment 9, prohibit offshore oil and gas drilling, no. I'm all for freedom. Amendment 7, first responder and military member survivor benefits, no. I'm not in favor of that sort of thing. Amendment 6, rights of crime victims, no, because they're not actually victims until the case has been decided. They are essentially rights of crime accusers. That's what this should be called. Rights of people who accuse others of a crime get rights just because they made an accusation. No, not okay with that. Definite no on Amendment 6. Amendment 5, supermajority required to vote to impose, authorize, or raise state taxes and fees. Yes. Make it harder to raise taxes. Amendment 4, voting restoration amendment. Yes, people should be allowed to vote after they get out of jail. Amendment 3, voter control of gambling in Florida. No, I'm not a fan of collective property ownership and communism. I know it's not communism, but yeah, anyway, hopefully you get what I'm saying. No, 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 no. Amendment 2, limitation on property tax assessments. Yes, limit taxes, which I know it's tax assessments, but yeah, we went through it earlier. Amendment 1, increased homestead property tax exemption. Yes. Decrease the amount of, I mean, get rid of property tax altogether. So anything that's limiting property taxes, yes. Okay. Whew. And Silly Sailor's asking, does 5 allow lowering taxes without a supermajority majority? I don't think it addresses that at all. We could glance over it very quickly, but I don't think that it has anything to do yeah, I don't think it even addresses lowering. It's only if you want to raise it. Let's see. Required to impose, authorize, or raise state taxes or fees. Raise, fee, yeah. Okay, come on. Yeah, see, the new stuff. Yeah, the new stuff is only, oh wait, okay, to decrease or eliminate a state tax or fee exemption or credit. Okay, wait, what? Oh, to decrease or eliminate a state an exemption. Okay. Yeah, so it doesn't say anything about lowering it. The rest of this, the not underlined stuff is the stuff that's already in law. The underlined stuff is what's going to be added. So there's nothing to be stricken. There's only that's going to be added, and it's all authorizing new taxes, supermajority tax. Yeah, it's only to add it. Nothing about as far as removing it is going to stay the same. Okay. Yeah. Nice. I get a comment saying we need to talk about your lack of accent. Yes, it's because I was born to. My parents are Northern. Who, yeah, they were raised in the North. My grandparents have, my grandmothers at least, have a Northern accent. But my parents moved here as teenagers to Florida, so they lived half their, well, before they had me and my siblings, they lived almost half their life down here. And then they raised us here in the South. So yeah, we basically have no accent. Okay, so there we go. Gone over it. Oh, hope that I hope that that may have helped some people, maybe not. May have been an interesting conversation for people. I had fun, although I'm very tired. I've got more work to do, like actual work that I need to do for my job. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope you all had a great evening, or have a great evening. And if you are in Florida, remember tomorrow is voting day. And I do not say get out and vote if you don't know what you're doing. But if you know what you're doing, then yes, you should vote. Thanks. Y'all have a great night. I'll talk to you later.